This tutorial addresses using Microsoft Excel 2007 to create some graphical analysis of data using the line graph function. So I have my data laid out. This is time series data because I have months out here: January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, etc. So I have a full year's worth of data for 2009 and the year 2010 for chocolate chip cookies. It says that's a bakery and how many cookies they produced and sold each of those months. And those values are in units, so they're not dozens. They actually produced and sold 4,795 chocolate chip cookies in January of 2009. So let's do some analysis of this data. Let's start by just highlighting, let's do both rows of data, and we're also going to grab the titles of the months. So it'll have the years and the titles, and I'm going to go over to Insert, Line, and we can use many different varieties of line graphs. There's ones with markers for each time. There's just the plain lines. And certainly if you had 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 different series of data, it would have multiple lines for those. But let's just go with the lines with markers. So it takes my data and it instantly, here we go, move it up where I can see the entire object, there we go, and it plots them both out. So we see some of the demand patterns, and the months were automatically loaded across the bottom, and we have a little legend over here that explains that this would be the 2009 data and this would be the 2010 data. Now let's clean this up just a little bit. We'll go up here to the top and choose the Layout tab, and then we'll add a chart title, and we can either do an overlay, which will overlap the top of the chart, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to choose above the chart. It'll squash my data a little bit, but at least the title will not be over top of my data points. So I'm going to give it a title that has some meaning to it. Let's say chocolate chip cookie demand. Be simple enough. Let's also put some titles out here. Let me get off the top of that. Let's put some axis titles. I don't need a title on the bottom because I can see those are months, but let's put a horizontal axis vertical axis title. We'll do a rotated one, and this will be demand in units. That'll be demand in units. Units meaning that that's each. So now my cookie chart's pretty well ready to go. You see a little bit of visualization that demand certainly dropped off in 2009 into the end of the year, and it was much higher throughout 2009, but then stayed steady throughout 2010, a little bit more of a stable demand pattern, this one being a downward trend.